Chapter 1. The Successor. Merlara stood alone on the balcony, absently fingering the luggery, a pendant shaped like dragon wings, hanging around her neck. The sun had just begun to rise over the mountains that surrounded her home. It had been her mother's custom to rise at dawn to watch the sunrise. Merlara would often rise with her, and it was then her mother had had the most intimate conversations with her daughter. Until now. A month had passed since Queen Eadriel's death. Merlara's heart ached for her presence, her smile, her laugh. The queen had died in her sleep, without warning. There were no comforting words from her, no encouraging counsel. Merlara had always struggled to accept she was heir to the throne. Now, as the new queen, she was desperate for guidance. Merlara sighed and looked down. The bridge below her stood over the river Lucia, which flowed through Tyor to its northern border. Our nation has suffered a great loss, she thought, but none so much as myself. Her eyes filled with tears. A wise queen you were, but no more. For a few moments she let the tears fall, then she brushed them away furiously. You fool, she said to herself, you've trained your whole life for this moment. Honor your people and your kin, as your queen has done. She drew herself up determinedly. Therefore, this is my vow, as you've been to me, so will I be to those you've left in my care. A faint smile had crossed her lips, when a sudden disquiet seized her. She turned. Her adopted sister, Tyor, was watching her anxiously. Sister, Merlara sighed in relief, I didn't see you. Tyor embraced her tenderly. Be comforted, she said softly. I know all too well your grief. Yes, said Merlara sadly. Your parents and mine were the most devoted friends. At least you won't lose them a second time. Tyor's eyes moistened as she spoke. Her parents had died when an unknown creature destroyed her home. The king and queen had taken her in and raised her alongside their daughter. King Taith and Lord Wenry had been friends since childhood, and their wives, Queen Eadriel and Lady Visalia, were no less affectionate toward each other. When Tyor's parents died, Merlara and her parents mourned as much as Tyor. It was easy for the two girls to get used to being siblings. They had always felt more of a sisterly affection for each other than that of friends. Tyor took Merlara's hand in hers. My affection for you, and giving counsel is the one art at which I excel. My only regret is having little else to give. Merlara smiled. It is enough. I have many things for which to thank you. Her smile faded. I need you now more than ever. Take heart, I've devoted my life to being your counselor. But you're not the only one on the Terry, Merlara reminded her. My youth gives them confidence. And yet I, barely a year your elder, am their chief. We've both proven ourselves worthy of our stations. You know the laws of our country. If they think I'm incompetent, they have the right to remove me. They can't remove you unless they find proof of it. And I promise you, if they dare attempt it, they'll find nothing. They were both silent then, content to stand and drink in the morning sunshine. Tyor sat in a large valley, with mountains surrounding it. The castle, Get Erlin Citadel, sat on a small hill above the city Imithia, which had been the capital of Tyor for generations. The birds sang and fluttered about in the trees below them, and Merlara thought wistfully of how happy and content they sounded, as though all was right with the world, and they were never plagued by death. Our breakfast will soon be ready, Tyor said at last. Merlara sighed, unwilling to leave the balcony. Yes, we must go. The Terry assembles early. The Terry was Tyor's council, each member being the chief of one of their 4 tribes, the Black Dragons, the Rising Bows, the White Foxes, and the Pure Woods. Merlara and Tyor's fathers were of the White Foxes. Lady Visalia and Queen Eadriel were of the Rising Bows and Black Dragons. The Black Dragons and Rising Bows were known for their unique hair and eye colors. Though younger, Merlara was taller than Tyor, with a narrow face, long brown hair, and green eyes. She wore a gown of black and white, with a red and yellow cape. She wore a silver circlet crown. Tyor was smaller in stature, broad of face, with blue eyes and red hair. She wore a gown of soft blue, with a yellow cape. Black, white, red, and yellow were the colors for the black dragons, white foxes, pure woods, and rising bows. It was often said, though never within hearing of the royal family, that Tyor was the more beautiful of the two women. After breakfast, they made their way to the council hall. It was separated from the throne room by a red door, which when opened led to a small flight of stairs leading to the council hall. 2 palace soldiers stood guard on both sides. The hall was circular in shape, with a marble table in the center and pillars surrounding it. In the center of the table sat a golden dragon, with rubies for eyes. They sparkled, and shifted from red to blue when one walked past it. 6 tall chairs, each carved in the likeness of a throne, stood in a circle around the table. The windows were oval-shaped, and designed so that no one could look in from the outside, while still allowing sunlight into the room. The walls and ceiling were covered with paintings depicting the line of kings and queens. Merlara and Tyor sat at the table and waited. Merlara felt sick with apprehension. Today's session would be to discuss the latest Seldrian attack on one of their villages. The Seldrian were a large reptilian race, with dragon wings, and heads that resembled that of a vulture. Long ago they had attempted to destroy Tyor, but failing to do so, had retreated to their homeland. A few months before the Queen's death, they had begun to attack again, though infrequently and in a stealthy manner. With her mother gone, the task of keeping them at bay now fell to Merlara. There was still speculation among the Teri of whether a Seldrian or a dragon had killed Tyor's parents. Since their mansion wasn't destroyed by fire, it was believed that a Seldrian was responsible, especially since they'd chosen to reveal themselves, whereas dragons hadn't been seen for over 2,000 years. Still, the cause of Lord Wenry's and Lady Visalia's death had never been confirmed, as there was no official sighting of the killer. Melara's reflections were interrupted as Higlek, chief of the Rising Bows, entered and sat down opposite her. Higlek was tall and lean, his face broad and clean-shaven, his long yellow hair pulled back with a brown leather band. A bow strung with an arrow was stitched on the front. Each chief wore a band with their tribe's insignia, signifying the skill of their tribe. Higlek was 28 years old, which was considered young for his station. Still, Merlara and Tyor were at a disadvantage in age, as Merlara was only 23, and Tyor was 24. Ladiel, who was 54, was chief of the Black Dragons. She had long white hair, and black eyes. She wore flowing satin robes of silver. Her band had a scroll and feather on the front, for history and education. Terrell, a year younger than Higlek, was chief of the Pure Woods. She had white skin, long brown hair similar to Merlara's, and black eyes. Her dress was also made of satin, but was a deep red, the color of her tribe. Her band depicted a cornstalk, symbolizing her tribe's skill in agriculture. Nahim, 50 years old, was chief of the White Foxes. He also had white skin, though his eyes were a light hazel, and his long hair was gray. He wore flowing robes similar to Ladiel's, except that his tribe's color was a pure white. He had a leaping stag on his band, symbolizing his tribe's skill in hunting. When they had all assembled, Merlara stood. "People of Tyor, you know that Eadriel, my mother and your queen, has passed away, a month before this day. As your new queen, I have summoned you here to address the crises before us. You know the Seldrian have begun to raid us, destroying our villages and murdering our people. Today's meeting will discuss their latest attack, and what is to be done to eradicate them." Merlara turned and fixed her gaze on Higlek. "Higlek, tell us of the latest attack on your tribe." The other chiefs looked at Higlek in surprise as he stood. He had told Merlara of the attack too close to the scheduled meeting, to give the chiefs news of it beforehand. Merlara and Tyor were well aware that he had done so on purpose, as he was always looking for ways to make Merlara appear incompetent. Still, Merlara didn't worry much about it, as Ladiel and Nahim were known supporters of her. Tyor would doubtless take note of it, as she leaned more to Higlek's side. But she was known to be less aggressive than Higlek, who had often made disturbing allusions to the idea of only one tribe controlling Tyor. Tyor was opposed this, as she still thought about the country as a whole, without overly favoring her tribe. "Good people," Higlek said, "2 days before this, a Seldrian attacked and destroyed a dozen of my tribe's dwellings, along with a great portion of their crops and livestock. Thankfully no lives were lost, giving us reason to believe the creature was after food rather than blood. We know this for a certainty, due to the harsh conditions of their homeland. The Seldrian have returned, after more than 2,000 years. While they present themselves as timid, I warn you, they will only grow more hostile. Like their rivals the dragons, they have long lives, living up to 3,000 years. Which strongly suggests that their queen, Tokolv, still lives and intends to destroy us, as she failed to do long ago." Tyor stood. "Our queen must consider that we should move quickly to destroy this rabble, or they will destroy us entirely. I am aware of the danger, but we are not well equipped for an attack on the Seldrian," Merlara answered. "They seem to remember our weaknesses more than we do theirs." "Perhaps you need another to arrange an assault," Higlek said. There was silence at this. Merlara understood that while Higlek appeared to be merely offering to arrange an attack, his intention was to make her more dependent on him, making it easier to find grounds to remove her. "I thank you, Higlek," she said, looking at him steadily. "But I will decide when and how we attack. My mother was a great queen and warrior, but only because she weighed the cost of every decision. Our forces could not defeat the Seldrian at this time, for they are swift and cunning, and the weapons we once used against them have not seen the light since King Seldrian. This must be remedied. I understand that your tribe has kept this art alive, but one tribe is not enough. So this is my proposal. We will send word to Callagan of our plight, for they are skilled in the weapons of old. The rising bows will teach the other tribes as well, and we will limit our assaults to defense until they are competent. What do you say?" There was silence for a moment. "With all due respect," Higlek said coldly, "you surely understand the risk of such a scheme. Callagan is many leagues from Tyor. It will take our ambassadors 6 months to cross the wild lands, perhaps more if the Silj and Kasia prove to be obstinate in letting them cross their territories. The Seldrian could declare war by then. It's a risk we'll have to take. Without the carry, we have almost no chance of survival. If we can keep the Seldrian distracted long enough so they don't intercept our ambassadors, we should be able to hold out until Callagan responds. As for the Silj and Kasia, you know well that our most trusted warriors are well equipped for it. Fendel and his brother were born in the wild lands. Norlim has the most knowledge of the Callagans. They will know how to conduct themselves." Merlara turned away from Higlek and looked pointedly at the rest of the council. "What say the rest of you?" Nahim stood. "The white foxes hear and obey. We will see that our best warriors are selected to use the weapons." Ladiel stood also. "The black dragons hear and obey." "As do we," Tyor said, standing and making a low bow. Higlek, carefully concealing his displeasure, stood and bowed as well. Merlara nodded, and caught Toriel's eye, who smiled. It was she who had suggested they use the old weapons, and warned Merlara that Higlek would attempt to manipulate her. While Higlek was confident his intentions were concealed, Toriel was skillful in discerning people's motives, and being partly from the same tribe, she was well aware of their proud and willful ways, and knew where their weaknesses lay. "So be it then," Merlara said. "Higlek, summon Tyor to the training field, he will assist you with the carries. The rest of you make known what we've decided. I will arrange to send ambassadors to Callagan." Merlara bowed, dismissing them. As the chiefs were leaving, Nahim turned to her. "Your parents taught you well. When you speak, they seem to speak through you." Merlara was moved and deeply humbled, but maintained her composure. "I thank you, Nahim. You have ever been a true friend. I could never be less." He turned to Tyor. You carried yourself well. See you use your gifts with integrity. Tyor bowed. I have ever strived to do so. And you've succeeded, Nahim said with a smile. He turned to Merlara and kissed her hand. He looked at her and said solemnly, Ketu atwe si atunasil. May the dragons ever guard you. Merlara bowed her head respectfully. Asil Jeul. And you as well.